So today is July
6th, July 6th.
6th?
Yes. And the following is the sort of the rough sketchings of a first act written on the plane ride back from Hawaii. These are sort of the summation of the beginnings of the recollections of the work of Michael Dougherty, Dan Harris, and myself that we did in Hawaii on the project Superman. Long ago,
on the doomed planet Krypton,
a wise scientist
placed his infant son into a spaceship and launched him across the galaxy.
arriving on Earth,
The boy was raised by a kind farmer and his wife,
and soon discovered he possessed powers and abilities
beyond those of mortal man, disguised as Clark Kent.
a mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper.
He used his gifts to become Earth's greatest protector, Superman. Fade in. The screen is 1:8:5, standard format. In an artful and elegant way, we are reintroduced to the opening scene of the 1978 classic on the planet Krypton.
Because when I was a kid, it was like, we are so big. And then suddenly it was like, Marlon Brando, dun da da dun.
Yeah, duh.
Bum ba da bum. And then they explode. Bum ba da. And then suddenly, just when I thought that, when I thought that was big, the letters, that giant S. And I was just like, 5 o'clock in the afternoon at the Prince Theater in Jersey with my mom, just like, this is Superman.
For 9 years, I saw the movie one particular way. We pushed and we pushed and we pushed. He, within a second, saw the real way it should be made, which was the reverse of what in our mind we had been going for. And God love him, thank God, came up with something that is really magical and spiritual and very, 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 very emotional.
My initial rough framework was just basically a rough pitch, which it was with Richard Donner and Lawrence Schiller Donner in my hotel room in Austin, Texas. And I said, I know I don't have control of the property, I know I'm not involved in it, they're gonna make another script, but if I made a Superman, would you listen to me? And I told Richard Donner like what I would do, and he said, I love that idea. And that was the blessing. Because without his blessing, without Richard Donner's blessing, you can't make a movie like this. I don't think so.
Superman's been around for 50 years. There are so many different incarnations of Superman. He's done everything. They've rewritten the mythology a dozen times. The suit has been 100 different ways. So we're going back to Superman 1 as our kind of canon. Dick Donner shot a very realistic, very natural movie.
Dick's #1 rule for the first film, I think he called it verisimilitude. That's very similar to how Bryan believes that everything has to have a certain logic. It's like, where do his powers come from? Well, they come from the yellow sun. What is kryptonite? It's radioactive pieces of his homeworld. It's like, you can't just assume that an audience knows exactly how and why these things work and exist. It's like there has to be a scientific logic behind everything.
We find Lex Luthor and his associates, we'll call him Otis for the moment, aboard a huge icebreaker making its way through the polar ice. Luthor has charts spread everywhere looking for something.
I'd say that this is an action-adventure, romance, comedy.
The internal story
is a struggle with Clark Kent, who is faced with working with Lois Lane, who was like, "Oh, Clark, you meet my husband? We work together, isn't it so great?" And he's like, all the time. We're very, it's the humor of him being like, Lois, I don't know, But when Superman comes back into her life, that's her old love, and her memories. Remember, he kissed her, zoom in, and suddenly it was just like Clark separated the two. But there's something, Superman, that's her first love that she just doesn't want to acknowledge. So, and they have to contact each other because of certain information, certain things, and she's very torn, and he's very torn.
But fun big ideas, saving space shuttles and building crystal palaces and stuff like.
That would be
You
great.
don't see that in X-Men. You don't see Spider-Man's burning buildings, and X-Men is dark torturous machines that give headaches.
We're about 12 weeks in. We had a very quick start. Bryan and the studio agreed to make this film about 12 weeks ago. There was no script, no plan for design, not anything. We've visited Sydney, which is where we intend to shoot the film, about 2 or 3 times, and the design is well underway. We've got 120 sets at current count, which is pretty close to double what we had on X-Men 2. This is the storyboard room, and this is Gabriel Hardman, who's the key storyboard artist for Bryan Singer. And essentially in here, the film in its sort of visual sense is created.
Bryan pitches the sequence to me in really broad strokes, and I come and figure out shots for it, draw them up, show them to him. He makes sort of editorial comments.
The boards are gorgeous, but there's always about. We joke after the fact. We always say we're going to get 1/3 the amount of actual shots. So what I'll do is I'll key off certain ideas. It destroys Lex's Fortress of Solitude. Is that what you're telling me? And there's another one. Oh, another one. Each one of these will cost $3 million. I'll be told.
It'll be worth every penny.
And then the shadows coming across the thugs. I love it.
It's not always possible for me to do a drawing on every single thing. So I need to bring talented guys to continue that process. We've now entered the lion's den. This is where the illustrators live and breathe sometimes.
Our initial goal was to show them various ideas that they could then pick the direction.
For every 10 drawings, at least maybe 1 or 2 actually, I like. So there's a lot of hit and miss, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of paper thrown away.
It's kind of to give the emotion, the lighting, the mood, the atmosphere, and really help tell that story so that those designs come together in a cohesive way.
The moment you translate the drawing into something three-dimensional, you get a whole new perspective on it. You can see the level of detail we go to with these architectural models. This helps Bryan and Tom Siegel design their shots very well. It's also an amazing tool for us when it comes to building, because obviously we can't build something that's 200-300 feet high.
There are some huge images in this movie that were made from kind of ideas in the script that we didn't gloss over, but that weren't really extremely important to us until they were brought out in production art. And once they took some of our ideas and things that we just threw off and turned them into kind of amazing production art, we went from there and expanded based on what Guy made, which is really great for us. It's like giving a visual voice to what we're doing at the same time while we're doing it.
This film is probably going to have 15 to 20 department heads. And when you have a team that big, you need to make sure all the information's consistent. So the Bible and the research is really important. Our Bible is a giant book which we keep. And in that book are all the images that you see on the wall, all these specific pieces of research, so that all the heads of department, everyone from the visual effects supervisor to the costume designer, Bryan himself, and all the producers will have this book so that when they want to know about a specific set, instead of being in a panic, they can just simply open their Bible. They'll have at their fingertips images of those things. So it really keeps everyone in the loop.
On, back, So that should be down there in the corner, like, but then this should be drawn in the bottom panel in case you understand? So but I'll zoom in on this.
As your life will be seen through mine.
You need that part. You want to see my, yeah.
But I'm saying, do you want to cut? Wait, just pause. You will carry me inside your life, make my strength your own. See my life through your eyes. How much of it is relevant to our movie? Basically, they do their scenes, their improvements, their drafts, and then we sit and just go through it in the room and try to make the changes in the room.
Read out loud.
And we read them out loud. And sometimes we'll call scenes out loud. We'll do the dialogue back and forth. We'll make up new dialogue back and forth.
Yeah, we read it to each other. Someone plays Lois, someone plays Superman, and we read it out loud and see if it works.
I look great in a wig. Dan and I kind of took separate chunks of the treatment. So it would be, I want to write these 5 scenes, and then Dan says, I want to write these 3 scenes. So then we email them back to each other and combine them, and then rewrite each other back and forth, and then submit to Bryan, who says, this is good, this is good, this is horrible, this is good, this is terrible, good, good, good. Kind of like getting graded on a college paper.
I'm telling you, you're skydiving. You need to, if you want to write about people who fly, you need to fly.
Gil heard the story prior to me, and he called me at home, and I said, tell me. He said, John, I can't tell you. It is so brilliant that it just took my breath away. And I went, really, really? And I said, well, tell me. He said, no, I can't tell you. And then finally we all had lunch, and he told me, and it was something amazingly, spiritual.
All of our conversations, Bryan and I, had been about, we don't want to do something that's already been done, and we want to do it differently. You don't want to disappoint. You want the audience to just be wowed. I personally feel that we, the human race, needs a Superman. And when given the opportunity to be involved with a project about Superman, I thought, well, maybe there's something we can do here that's bigger than just a movie. And when I heard the story that Bryan and the writers told me, I felt we were really on the right path. So, yeah, I think we all need this.
Today is October 5th, 2004. Our first draft is going to be delivered in about 3 days, maybe. And we are filming in March, so that makes us 5 months away.
We're getting ready to film callbacks for a Superman candidate, Superman/Clark Kent's candidate.
The process of casting was complex. There'd been several incarnations of this movie over about 11 years with about 3 different directors. A lot of people had come in, a lot of well-known people, a lot of unknown people, and I went through hundreds of tapes.
I hired 10 casting directors around the world, from Toronto, Vancouver, 8 cities in the United States, London, New Zealand, and I took New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, and we started meeting everybody that hadn't been met. In other words, all the unknowns. We found that the known people kind of took you out of the story.
And finally gravitated to a tape I'd seen of Brandon where he didn't quite show it, but I saw something in it.
He was actually found here in Los Angeles. He's from Iowa.
Finally, I set up a meeting with him right before I flew to Australia for Scout at the local Coffee Bean. And the 2 of us sat down for 2 hours, and that's really where I make my decision. It's in the one-on-one, understanding the essence of the person, seeing their personality evolve over a long conversation. And I think it was that afternoon that I made my decision pretty definitively.
So now that we're in casting, do you have any thoughts here? Is this the guy? Are we going to see him? Is it?
Ooh, no comment. No comment on that. No comment.
I think this is the guy.
This screen test occurred after a couple of more meetings and some videotape, some Photoshop work I did, some hair work. We even put a painted image of him in the costume. I think I'm eating up a lot of tape here. Let me just explain what... Yeah, I know, but people's time isn't. I knew in my heart that he was the one I was casting for the role, but he didn't. So what you're going to see here is him getting prepped and for the screen test and getting his hair cut and sort of being put on the spot by Mr. Burnett over here in his camera without really knowing that he basically had the role.
My name is Brandon Routh, and I am testing for the role of Clark Kent, aka Superman.
This is a pretty big responsibility. How do you feel about this?
I feel good about it. I feel like it's my responsibility to take care of it.
Way to keep that stress level down.
Now,
Way to take the pressure off.
you're the only person on the planet Earth of all humanity that's in this place right now.
It's true.
What does that feel like?
It's pretty good.
Rob single-handedly put more pressure. I spent the whole last week, making this casual and less official and fun and relaxing. It's just now that's all just. Whoo.
So what's it like working with Bryan?
It's been great so far. We have,
Haven't really worked together.
we haven't really, we've talked a lot, which is good.
How does one get into character?
I'm trying to think of a funny answer, but I'm not going to come up with that. Confident, strong, intelligent, caring, strong sense of justice.
You're going to do well.
Thank you.
Looking through some glasses for Clark Kent.
Very thick thing.
Yeah, no. Got that, man, a fake nose.
And a mustache. Wow, you can't recognize it.
They're gonna have to be horn rims of some kind. They look like a Fellini film. Yeah, again, they're a little Harry Potter.
Yeah.
These are the ones.
Number one?
These are the pre-selected ones.
Number two.
Yes.
Number one.
I like that. Those are horn rims, right?
Those are horn rims.
Those horn rims
Those are
don't.
good. Those are good.
They don't detract. These don't like.
Those are good. They're not as
Detract.
fancy outy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's keep these 4 out, and then let's go do his hair. I'm asking Stefan what he believes is going to be the biggest challenge with your hair.
It may take some. You're probably gonna have to texturize it because it's so
thin it
heavy.
out.
Yeah.
No, take some, and then it'll
Thin it though, or put texture to it.
well, thinning and texturizing is the same basic terminology, but going and lightening up the weight of it.
Okay. Better save this. Guess we need to glue it back on.
Very nice. I didn't know that anybody else was, if anybody else was auditioning. I had the sense that nobody else was auditioning, and I kind of kept that to myself, and I thought it was very interesting that the DVD crew was there filming this. Then people kept coming around, saying things that, oh, you're gonna love Australia and all these things. I'm like, hello, I don't have the job yet. I don't really believe in jinxing me, but it felt like everybody was kind of jinxing me. And people kept saying things, laying hints, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I really am the only one that is testing this time.
They're shooting a 70mm film, not since, 65mm film. Close. The Robe. Lawrence of Arabia, 2001: A Space Odyssey. What else? Hamlet, Far and Away. And I think Terry Malick's shooting something in 70 right now. I don't know if we'll be doing this for the movie, but it's just fun. Okay.
Well, maybe, saying goodbye was hard because he wasn't sure whether he was going to be gone for a little while or forever. And maybe he had to go, and he wanted to say goodbye, but he couldn't find the guts to do it because if he saw you even for one last time, well, maybe he was afraid that if he saw you just once, he would never be able to go.
Let's start with the big question. Where'd you go?
To Krypton.
Well, you're back. And everyone seems to be pretty happy about it.
I read the article, Lois. Why the world doesn't need Superman. Why did you write it? I hear everything. All the good and all the bad in this world. You said that the world doesn't need a savior. But every day I hear the cries for one.
I think I found my Superman.
A lot of the characters about not just the internal stuff, but how you look. I mean, I'd be stupid to say that putting on the suit, the cape, and the boots doesn't make a difference and make you walk differently. It does. That's how it is. So it's a great help. And all this pre-practice, it's like free rehearsal. I mean, it's work, but it was really good. It'll pay off, you know.
I got Brandon Routh.
Yep.
I've got a dog named Smurf. I got Smurf's son. I've got a larger dog and a small cat with eczema cast. And that's it.
Now that you are back, do you expect things to go back to the way they were? For everyone to welcome you?
I read the article. Why the world is better without Superman.
I spoke to Kevin about it.
Okay.
Just to get a sense, and he said, yeah, and he was very complimentary.
Okay.
Yeah. So, just because I just he was complimentary. He said, you know, he was like, she's a girl, she's young, but there is a maturity, and she went places that, for him, and
Everybody was like,
Yeah.
we want to see a script. I said, you're not going to get to see a script. It's Lois Lane, it's Superman, it's Bryan Singer. What more do you want?
Well, the script.
What are you going to say to JJ?
I wasn't planning on calling JJ yet until he says that that's what he wants to do.
Want to hold off on that?
Do you want to?
You want to hold off on that, or you
Do
want
you want to sleep on it? I think you should go.
I've been sleeping on her for 2 months. I've wanted
Let's do
her
it.
for since before I went to be on the sea again. I wanted her. All right. Kate Bosworth, Lois Lane.
Okay, right. Great.
All right, guys.
Done.
I'm
Guys,
making a
next
sort of
story.
decision here.
What's happening right now? We're on our way to LAX to get on a plane to Sydney, Australia, to begin production. Well, production's already begun, but to continue production and begin filming Superman.
Remember the little people back home.
Just for us.
Remember your mom and dad.
The Clark thing was pretty easy to tap in for me because I was like that in high school to some degree. I mean,
you were an alien from Krypton masquerading as a high school student?
That's the part that I was like.
Be happy and know that you're doing the right thing, because you always have. It's always good.
I wasn't the most popular kid in school, and I wasn't as bad as Clark, I suppose, growing up. But I wasn't the cool kid either, so I fit easily into feeling a little alienated.
I'll say to laugh and always listen to the music.
Here I am with Superman, and we're flying together. I'm on the tails of his cape all the way.
Yes.
I think we fear for our lives for the next 6 months, but we're looking forward to it.
name's Louise Mingelbuck, and I'm the costume designer for Superman. I started on this at the beginning of August last year, August 2004. At that point, we didn't even have a script, and we started working on the Superman costume. And we didn't even have a Superman. The Superman suit's so iconic, and it's so classic, really, that it was just recreating something that's all been good for decades. We've become so sophisticated in our superhero kind of vocabulary the audience has that you kind of have to keep up with that. So we updated it, but kept it very true to, you know, what it always was, very classic. So we had that. We had a guideline. We had a very clear guideline of what Bryan wanted that suit to be. I know that Mrs. Kent made the suit, okay, in the mythology. Well, she, you know, obviously that's suspended here.
Yeah, I like the S. I like that in there.
But the rest of the movie, you know, I think other than having a great Superman suit, you have to create this world, and you have to make it believable, and you have to make it hopefully a little stylish, but not too stylish, unless you're doing that a period film, which of course we're not doing. So I worked with Guy, and we, you know, and he told me the colors he was using in the sets, and we were very, very careful to control the colors. So it's all kind of grays and browns and beiges, and the idea was that when you see Superman, he jumps out at you. He's the red in the movie, he's the blue in the movie, he's the yellow in the movie. And that's still, you know, what we're very conscious of, even in terms of Lex Luthor and his gang.
This is very Gene Hackman.
And Kitty, as extravagant as she'll be in muted as she can be. She'll be in muted colors. And then here's for maybe, like, be on deck with a matching captain's hat. You know, like with the matching.
I just don't want it to be
no, come on, it's gonna
cartoon.
Be cool. What? Cartoon?
No, yeah.
Elegant. Au contraire. What are you talking about? This is. Come on, every girl wants this. What we're trying to do is bring in like a little bit of the 30s, a little bit of the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, all the decades when Superman's kind of been important, an important superhero to us. We're trying to incorporate a little bit of that into the clothes and into the costumes. You can't please everyone, and I think there will be people who are real superhero fans who will not like the size of the S, and they won't like the size of the trunks, and they won't like the cape, how long it is, or how, you know, I mean, there'll be, I'm sure, a million criticisms of this costume. At some point, you have to deal with the body that you were given. We must have tried 20 different styles, and this was what looked best on him. So you have to just think about making your Superman the best Superman he can be.
I said, are you afraid of the Superman curse? And Brandon said, I said, Brandon, nothing I say to you is going to make you not accept this role, but what happens if you accept the role and then there's a Superman curse and you're either injured or killed or something happens to you? And he says, well, the way I look at it is I could not accept the role and something terrible could still happen to me and then I will not have been Superman, so best accept the role. I thought that was kind of clever.